Hello and welcome to this video covering how to do a threat hunt operation within the ThreatHuntOverwatch application. What we wanted to highlight first is this About page, where on the left you can see the steps laid out that we'll cover today, as well as on the right different references for you to get inspired to conduct different threat hunt operations. First, we need to add a threat hunt. So we'll go to the Threat Hunt Manage page. Add new operation. And for today, what we're going to do is look for unusual web methods. Fill in a description of what we're intending to find with this hunt. And this one will be fairly signature driven because we're going to do the work right away. We're going to set it to active. We're going to pick ourselves, Elliot Alderson, to be the lead on it. Now that we have our hunt added to the list, what we want to do is start searching the data and building out what our detection would be. For that, we're going to select search within the ThreatHuntOverwatch application. This is important because it is only the searches conducted within this app that the recorder picks up. So for our demonstration, we have the boss of the SOC datasets loaded from Splunk and the Splunk security specialists. If you're unfamiliar, you can Google boss of the SOC or bots, and you should find the datasets on GitHub, as well as several articles outlining what they contain and other types of attacks within it. Because we're using the boss of the SOC, the dates on the log events are back in time, sometimes a year or two. So for this example only, we're going to search all time. So first, let's look at the web data source and see what methods are being used within it. So we're just going to do a quick stats count. And we can see get and post, which we expect to see, but then you see some of these other unusual ones. So what can we do with this? Well, the next step for us is to start finding, well, who is connecting by some of these unusual methods. So for that, all we're going to do is count the methods, and then we're going to do that count by what client IP address there are. So now we can start seeing a little bit more information, but we're still not really picking up on what's unusual here. So the next step that we're going to do is let's filter this a little bit and add a little bit of conditional logic so that we can get the event count lower. Because as you can see, we're still pulling a significant amount of events into this search. So now all we did was filter out gets and posts because we expect those, that same count by IP, and now we're going to do this. It's a little redundant to do greater than 0 because we've already filtered it out, but it's just to help outline and illustrate the logic being used. And to the top rise these 3 IP addresses, which definitely from the methods you can see should be investigated. So we're starting to get a little bit closer on our search. But now what we want is more than just source IP. I want a little more information about what the connection event or what the weblog was telling us. So what we're going to do is instead of just the client IP, let's actually find which boss of the SOC index it was and what the user agent was. Okay, now we get a little bit more information. We can see what the status code of the web page was. We can see all of these are from the version 2 of the data set. And now we can kind of see these user agent strings coming in. One interesting note is if you look up Georgie, this is actually a vulnerability scanner, or it was that was found. So we do think that these are 3 IP addresses that this detection so far is finding that really should be investigated. But let's get a little bit more information. So for that, what we did is we included a comment about what we're doing below. And what we're trying to do is figure out what the host name is, as well as where's that IP located. Two pieces of information that an analyst would typically try resolving themselves if they got an alert. So let's just see if we can fold it into our search to help include some of that information. Now we can start seeing more of the picture about what the threat is. And specifically, this vulture one is part of an attack in this data set, as well as this scanner one. So we think we're definitely getting closer with this detection, but let's say this is where we want to end it for the day. It's fairly well developed, but we want to do more testing as time goes by. So we're going to leave the search for now. And what we're going to do is let's attach these searches to that threat hunt that we set up, to that hunt operation. So we go to the threat hunt engage page, and you'll see some of these searches starting to come in already. It may take up to 5 minutes for this to get populated, why the searches you ran get recorded to the application. So it's important that if you don't see the searches that you were looking for, or it's missing some, wait 5 minutes and come back and see if they're in there then. What we want to do then is filter down to the specific searches that we want to attach to our operation. So for instance, you can filter by which user did the actions. We can also filter by keywords. Like for this one, let's say, hey, we only want stuff from the boss of the SOC data set. And you can also use time range of when the searches were completed. The other important note here is you see to the right, that comment that we included in the search is actually being extracted now. So that's great, so that as you document your threat hunts, your searches themselves, it'll actually pull them out and sort them to the right. So it kind of self-documents as you go through your search. If these are the searches we want to add, we simply pick the threat hunt operation that we set up and add them. So now all the searches that were in the filter above, we see loaded to this threat hunt operation when they were added and who they were added by. We can also go to the operation overview. This is kind of the central view of a threat hunt operation. It'll tell you the searches attached, the activity associated, as well as some of the details on the operation. So we see what our intention was, the type of signature, the hunt activity over time. These would be the searches that we attached, as well as the searches themselves. So for these ones, you'll see the highlighted row. What we can do with any of them is click on them to open them back up in search to rerun them. So if we're coming back to that same search later, we can actually execute the search that was recorded, and we'll see our data again. What's great about this is you can spot check your detections over time as you're developing them and be able to really get comfortable with them being burned in. Another nice feature of the operations overview page is the ability to add notes. So for this one, we're ready for the final detection work. We can add the note, and now it's being recorded to this hunt operation so that if another teammate takes a view of this operation, they understand where this current operation is at. That's just a little bit of the walkthrough of how to use this application. We really hope that you guys enjoy it and that it helps make your threat hunts more efficient.